Hi, I'm Betty Banjack, and this is Look Who's Cooking. Today we have something very different and very special. We're not really going to cook. We're going to show you things that have been cooked in preparation for the Easter and the Passover holiday. First on hand, my guests today are Mary Ann Holloway, and Mary Ann and I have been friends for quite a few years now. I'm quite sure how long, but quite a few years. And then my mother, Elizabeth Banjack, and we've known each other all my life, you know, what can I tell you? And Mary Ann is going to show us first what the Easter basket, the Ukrainian-style Easter basket that is taken to the church or taken to a priest, or depending on where you are, is how you do it. And again, the one Mary Ann's doing the Ukrainian church or the Ukrainian way. There are many other ways throughout Europe that people brought that custom to this country and still do it. They still really do it. The day before Easter, you'll see a lot of Ukrainian churches and all people running in and out with their baskets for the blessing. Mm-hmm. So Mary Ann, you want to just get started?
Sure. Well, historically, Lent is a time of fasting up until Easter. And Christians fast from, well, the Ukrainian Christians fast from meat and dairy products. So when Easter comes, everybody really wants to have their meat and dairy products. So they prepare a basket for their Easter morning breakfast. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about everything that's in the basket. First of all, the basket itself is only used for this purpose, to put the stuff in for the Easter morning breakfast. It's usually covered by a cloth, and I'm lucky enough to have this beautiful one that my father-in-law's sister from the Ukraine sent over just for my family. The colors in it, the blue and the gold, are the Ukrainian colors.
This is all handmade?
It's all handmade. It's counted cross-stitch. The words in Ukrainian say, "Christ is risen, indeed he is risen," which is the standard greeting in the Ukrainian Catholic Church on Easter Day. If you don't have one of those cloths, you can buy one that it looks something like this, and they're equally as nice.
My favorite foods.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
And the smell, too.
And the smell already is coming.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some people coming up after the smell gets through the studio. They usually do that.
Okay. First of all, in the basket, you have eggs. And you have two kinds of eggs. You have the Ukrainian decorated eggs, and you have your own colored eggs, which I put some out in the front here. And everything in the basket has a significance. The egg is like the chick that comes out of the shell. It's for hope and emergence of a new life, which is what spring brings. If you want to look at these Ukrainian eggs,
can you get a shot of those?
These take many, many hours to do the work on these. They have various designs. Most of them are hollow by the time you get them, and they're highly varnished, and everyone is as unique as a snowflake.
Let me share my egg disaster with you all. I went to the library before I worked there to do these eggs. They're called panskis.
Pasanki.
Pasanki.
I'm not saying the Ukrainian words because I'm not Ukrainian.
Whatever. So I was real thrilled because I'm pretty crafty. I got there. I broke all my eggs. I broke all my neighbor's eggs working. I broke her eggs. I mean, I was a disaster. They nearly threw me out of the community room and said, "Don't come in and touch anybody's eggs." I don't know why it happened, but everything I touched broke, and I never did it again. I knew I had the equipment to make them, and I gave it away because I knew man, I was never supposed to do this.
Well, there's two ways to get the insides of the egg so that they don't go bad on you. The first way is to put a pinhole in the end. Did you do that, maybe?
No.
And then you put a larger pinhole in the other end, and you blow into it, and you blow all of the egg insides out. But a more popular way is to just set them in a dry, cool place, and the insides dry up in about a year. And you'll have I don't know if any of these rattle, but some of them will have a rattle in it, and that's the last of the egg that's all dried up.
Did you ever break one of those that were drying up?
I never made them.
No, smell them. They're horrible.
Really?
It smells like rotten egg.
I've always gotten them when they've been completely finished. So, also in the basket is meat, and meat signifies the freedom from the old law that did not allow certain meats. So we have ham, and the way I did this ham was to put cloves on it and bake it, and I would baste it with 7-Up. 7-Up adds to the flavor, and it also tenderizes the meat. I think when you buy a boneless ham like this, it's pressed together. It's not in its normal state, so there's not a lot of fat in it to keep it moist and tender. You also have your kielbasa, and the sausages, when they're in links, signify the continuance of life.
Question on this.
Yeah.
How do you serve this? And this is raw right now, or smoked in the state it's in. Do you cook this more, or do you?
Well, when we have
Fry
our
it?
Ukrainian breakfast, we usually have some that is warm and some that is cold. Everybody has their own preference.
I know the Hungarians and the Slovaks, they roast it with their ham.
Oh,
And they get all the juices out and it dries up, and then they, sort of like a Slovak jerky.
some people cook it in water, Betty. Some people
Oh, well,
cook it
yeah,
in
I
water.
think I saw that on TV, but it
Yeah.
tastes better done with the ham. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, well, when you have the breakfast, everything is already ready. You come home from church and you're hungry and you want this meat and you want all of the butter and everything. Speaking of butter, some people have their butter in the shape of a lamb, or some people put designs on it. And the butter signifies prosperity and peace. And next, here's one of my favorites, is the horseradish. And this is what a horseradish root looks like in its natural state. It's pretty darn ugly, and it's pretty darn bitter. Horseradish signifies the bitterness in life. And if you make your own horseradish, it's not very hard to do. You would scrape away all of the dirty stuff and peel it, cut it up in chunks, put it into a food processor, and you add salt, vinegar, and a little bit of sugar. At Easter time, we also do it with red beets. And you can cook the red beets ahead of time and use them, or you can put the canned beets in with the horseradish while you're mixing it.
Can I taste that? I got
Can
my
you taste
fork.
it? It's hot. You don't like hot
Well,
stuff.
I handle this better than pepper hot. This is.
Wonderful stuff.
It's hot, but it's very good here.
And then you have your bread. And at Easter time, it's called a pascha. And you use the same recipe at Easter that you use for your Christmas bread, but at Easter, it's a round loaf, and at Christmas time, it's a braided loaf. Now, somebody told me that you should not change your hair color 2 weeks before the wedding. And I'm going to tell everybody, if you're going to go on TV to talk about bread, don't change your recipe at the last minute. I wanted to try this very special recipe that has 12 egg yolks in it and only 4 cups of flour. And anybody that bakes bread knows that that's not a good ratio. This was a gooey mess, and you could not knead it like you normally knead bread, but it came out absolutely wonderful. In fact,
You going to cut some?
yeah, I'll cut some right now.
Get the recipe out of there.
My Bubba, my father's mother, I still remember, I was 5 when she died, and I still remember her pascha, but I also remember my Aunt Mary made it. And that's my very favorite Easter thing.
There you go.
Thank you. That with
Looks
chocolate
wonderful.
Easter eggs on it.
Looks oh, it is good, Mary Ann. Looks good.
Yeah, it's got a nice texture to it. It's wonderful.
This is yeast.
Yeast, yeah, and it calls for yeast cakes, not yeast powder. The candle is
You
also,
can't substitute that?
well,
You substitute powder dried in cake, don't you, Mom?
the recipe that I used said don't substitute any ingredients because you may not like the results.
Oh, this is the best I ever tasted.
Well, thank you.
Testimonial.
It's very light.
Yeah, most of the time the paschas are big and round, and a lot of women go to great lengths to decorate them with extra dough. They'll put doves on them, or crosses, or flowers. Yeah, and it's very pretty. And when you go to have your basket blessed, everybody's kind of looking to see what everybody else has. Not in a jealousy kind of way, but oh, I think I'll try that next year, and that's very nice. And so everybody wants to have the nicest looking pascha. Obviously, mine does not look nice, but it tastes very good.
Wonderful.
In Phoenixville, there's a Ukrainian church over the hill, as they call it. It's fine. And I was coming out of a building one Easter Saturday because next building looking at something, and I saw these people coming to church with their baskets and all. I mean, I'd do anything. Can I see in your basket? And I was checking out everybody's basket. I didn't have a basket to make, but I still wanted to see what was in the basket, and they were really nice. And most of the people were most proud when they had a handmade cover. That was like the pride and joy of their basket. The food could be good, but it was the pride and joy of the basket. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I was very lucky to get that because, you know, working full-time and being a mother, I don't have time to do a lot of creative stuff like that.
Takes a lot
Do
of time.
this kind of work.
I do it occasionally, but
But it's only taken you 25 years, I mean.
Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
we also had the salt, and the salt signifies self-denial. I'm not quite sure what that means, but that's what they say. And the candle represents the radiance of the resurrection when Christ was raised from the dead on Easter Sunday morning.
Do you have anything?
It's a nice story. So much.
You can do your own Easter egg dyeing with natural ingredients. It takes a long time. You have to soak the eggs for quite a while. But to get a yellow color, you would use orange peels or green pear peels or yellow onion skin and boil them up in water and soak your eggs in it. To get orange, you would use chili powder. Red would be red beets or raspberries or rose hips.
Do you have purple? What do you use for purple?
None. Well, the closest to it would be the blue with the
red and
red
blue.
cabbage leaves. It's not a true blue. And for green, you would use herb leaves. And for beige or brown, you could use coffee or tea. I'm not that inclined, so I buy the little kit and color my own eggs.
They have some cute kits out now. They have the wrappers for the egg. You put the egg in the wrapper, you stick it in the hot water, and it wraps it tight. And it looks like hours of doing some kind of work on
Yeah,
it.
it looks like you did something great. In the Ukraine, they have a big celebration at Easter. This is the major event of the year. And they play games with all of the hard-boiled eggs because they have a whole lot of them. Everybody knows, what do you do with the eggs after Easter? Well, sometimes the children will roll them towards each other in the grass, and whoever doesn't have a cracked egg wins all the rest of the eggs, and probably has a tummy ache by the next morning from
Something
eating
like
them.
gambling on Easter.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
They play a game similar to Monkey in the Middle with throwing the eggs and over the top of somebody's head.
Yeah. My mother is Hungarian by heritage. She was born here. And she always talks about Easter Monday. It was like as almost as big a holiday as Easter.
It
Is
was.
that?
It was. We went to church. My mother didn't do anything. And then we didn't have school. Our kids had to go to
How do
church.
you get out of school an extra day?
We didn't have school
Oh,
on Easter
oh.
Monday. No way. That was a big holiday. We had to go to church.
And what about the boys sprinkling somebody with
Yeah.
holy water so they
The
smell?
the day after Easter, the young men and the older people, they would come to their friends and put perfume in a bottle, and they sprinkle them. And then Tuesday, the second day, the ladies went to. This is a European.
Well, you made the
Hungarian.
most of Easter. 4 days, or a whole week in 4 days.
No, Tuesday.
Well,
Monday was
Saturday,
the men, Tuesday.
Sunday,
Well, yeah.
Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, it was a
So,
big holiday.
I like Easter. Easter is one of my favorite holidays. It's much different than Christmas, and I almost like it because it's shorter, more compact. And
Everybody went to church on Easter Monday and Easter Day. We had to go. It was a big holiday.
even
for
if you didn't want to, huh?
us. Oh, yeah, everybody went. We didn't say
You
anything.
never questioned my grandmother. If she said you were going to go to church, you were going to go to church.
Yeah.
So is there anything else in your basket, Mary?
Well, no, but I have some interesting stories to tell, if you don't mind.
I know what these are for.
Oh, yeah, the pussy willows. In the Ukraine, it was very hard to get palm leaves and very costly. So they decided on pussy willows because they're one of the first things that bloom in the spring. And when you go to the church for Easter, for Palm Sunday Mass, they give you your pussy willows, and on the way out, everybody taps everybody's shoulder, and they say in Ukrainian, "It is not I that hits you, but the willow." And there's they also wish you good health and prosperity, and all of this is in Ukrainian.
Do they burn these up and make next Ash Wednesdays?
That I
thing
don't
out of
know.
this? They did that out of the palms. They take
Yeah.
the palms left over and they make the anointment they put on that thing. Just wondering if they did that with the pussy willows. I love
I don't know.
pussy willows.
Yeah, those
Well-
aren't exactly bloomed very well yet.
It's been not great pussy willow time. Can we move some of this over here so then we can talk about a few other things we have.
Certainly.
I'll put this in, saving my piece of bread.
Mary Ann, that bread is wonderful.
My sons totally demolished the other one that I made because I always make two of them, one for show and one for eat.
Oh,
This is raw. I mean, this is cooked real. That's what
Yeah,
I meant to say, it's real.
one of the things with the eggs, when you put them in the basket, you put one peeled egg, and that's to signify the purity of Christ after he was resurrected. I forgot to mention that.
Here's your other 2 eggs. You don't want to
Okay,
break them.
and just one more thing. A lot of the things that I talked about were from my experiences with Ukrainian Easter baskets, but a lot of the information that I got came from this book called Ukrainian Easter, and this is available in the Ukrainian store down in Philadelphia, and it gives you background and history and a lot more information than I could possibly give you.
You can probably get something like that at the library. Not maybe that book on itself, but that. Well, let me work with this a minute. I want to show you something. Let me get a seat, Mother.
Betty, can I tell Mary Ann that I really liked what you had told
Don't
us?
stand behind me when you speak on television, Mom.
Oh, I want to tell you, I really liked what you told us about it. I don't know too much about Hungarian, only what after my mother was 12 years old when she came from Hungary. So she doesn't know a whole lot of things, only what we learned here after she got here from the other people.
Well, every group was different, too. They all had the
Yeah.
same and the different.
Right, and your traditions are the same year after year.
Can I just get up here?
Go ahead. I learned
What I
all.
want to show you here is something I had more to make, but I think we're just going to show it. And this is called this is a Passover dish. Here we go, thing. And it's apples and, I forgot, was it apples, walnuts, dates. You cut them all up very, very fine. And you put honey, and you put grape juice or wine. You can use sweet wine if you want, whatever you want to use. And you blend them all together with a little cinnamon. And when you do this, it makes like a paste. Let me see if can I have one of these knives, Mary Ann? Thank you. See, it's not real pasty, but it's like a thing, and
You can spread it.
you can spread it. In fact, I have some matzah that I purchased. Everybody purchases matzah. Nobody makes it anymore. Just like the phyllo dough for the Greeks, everybody buys it. And it's really very tasty. Would you like some?
Sure.
It's called
Thank you.
Horosis, and it's not pronounced anything at all like it's spelled, but this is the usual thing. And
Thank you.
Very sweet.
it is. It's between, there's, I have grape juice. I use this grape juice, which is, I did not make this kosher, but this is, the grape juice was kosher. I purchased it in the supermarket. The Jews said that this signifies the mortar that they had to use in toiling for Pharaoh in building his buildings and his pyramids and all. I'm talking about thousands and thousands and thousands. I'm not talking about, I understand Passover has been celebrated for about 3,000 years and Easter 2,000 years, but this custom came from way before that. And this is an intricate part of the Passover Seder. I always hate to keep telling people this, but I find out more and more people just don't know it. The reason Passover and Easter comes on top of each other, which it really does. The Last Supper was a Passover Seder. And that's when that all happened, but that's why they're always, again, it's according to the calendar, it's according to the moons. Everything has its own moon, everything has its own calendar. Every once in a while, but the Passover and Easter are really right on top of each other. So we have that. Oh, we have a treat for you. See if we can get this. Come on. Ready?
Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity hopping, Peter's on his way.
Baskets in the room.
Makes you want to dance.
Yeah. Your cheeks are it's long too.
Yeah.
And you can't shut it off.
Like a little record in there.
That's so cute.
Whole thing is.
Believe it or not, it belongs to my mother. I bought her that the other year. Something else I want to show here is some eggs that are made out of soapstone, and they're from Africa, Kenya, and all the different countries all over celebrate Easter or celebrate spring. If they don't celebrate Easter, they celebrate spring. Again, this is sort of like the new birth. I think in most customs, the eggs really symbolize that in some way or another. And these are very, very heavy. If you ever got hit by one of these, you'd be knocked out for a little while. But I do collect eggs, and so I'm very proud of those. Again, they're from Kenya, and the colors are really pretty, I think. The thing I want to talk about now is two ways. Easter cheese. Now, do you have that in your basket when you make it?
You
Easter?
can put it in there.
Oh.
I don't, but
You can,
yeah,
okay.
you can. You can put anything in there.
Now, my mother made this. This is what the Middle Europeans call, gosh, I can't even untie it. She tied it so well.
No, I just made a little bit.
That's
Where's
not a
the
knife. Here.
Here I have
No,
it.
Okay.
it's not tight. Very loose.
Loose, but with a knot, Mom.
Well, just one.
This cheese
Oh, wow, that's pretty.
is a beautiful cheese. It's made in this cheesecloth. This cheese is made with, all that's in this is 1 dozen eggs and 1 quart of milk. And the reason I'm getting why I mixed up because I have another recipe that takes other, and a little salt and a little pepper and
A little sugar.
oh, I'm sorry, a little sugar.
Yeah,
Some people put raisins in it, but we don't seem to like that too much. Anyone in my
No.
even my aunts and my cousins.
No,
and
don't
we
put
don't. We're
anything
not
in.
into that
Some
kind of.
people put nuts in it and raisins, but it's altogether different flavor.
And
How long does it take to make that?
this fell into place.
This is the fastest one I ever made. Very fast.
You just boil the eggs in the milk.
You have to have 2 pots. Can I explain? You have to have 2 pots. You put a little water in the bottom and put the bigger pot on
Well, a
top.
double boiler.
Well, yeah, a double boiler's
But
not
she
big
made
enough.
her own double
I have
boiler.
big ones
Here, let
because
me
I
get
have to
this.
make my own pot. But I took a dozen eggs and beat them up with a little mix master or hand beater, and then you put in a quart of milk and a little bit of sugar, salt, as sweet as you want it. Some people don't put any
On my fingers.
any sugar in it. And then you just cook it slowly, and when it starts curdling real fast, you hurry up and you take cheesecloth. And we showed them the cheesecloth.
Mother, this is only a half-hour show.
Oh, okay, piece of cheesecloth. You and you put it in there in a strainer, and you squeeze it tight, and it's very hot. It's boiling. My hand gets
You
red.
have running water so you can put your hands under.
She
This,
gave me ice
this
water.
tastes like custard almost.
Yeah.
That is almost a
Yeah, it's
custard.
very
In turn,
good.
Here's another one. This is an Italian Easter cheese
That's easy to make.
that, let me flip out. I did not make this. My mother did not make this. Marianne did not make this. My good friend Antoinette Mucciaroni made this special for the show.
Beautiful.
And what's in this cheese is just milk. This is 1 gallon of milk and 2 retinine. You know those capsules you can buy to gel things
That
up?
don't take no eggs, does it?
Nothing, just a gallon of milk. Ideally, it'd be made with raw milk, but raw milk isn't processed any longer, and you can't get it. So she uses regular milk, and she
Beautiful.
uses these junket tablets. That's really what it is, junket tablets. And she makes this cheese, and this cheese, this is my favorite. I had to tell you, this is like a real Easter, or not Easter, a real Italian type cheese.
Well, she knows about it, boy, I'll tell you, it's beautiful.
Well, Antoinette's mother, I believe in.
Thank
When
you.
when she lived in Italy, it made about 20 of these or 30 of these a day as a business, so they were used to. Me, I'm a disaster, you know. I try to
Very
make
good.
it a couple times, and I just don't have the act. I think it's something you have to build up the time and all to do.
I had some of this before, but I forgot it in a couple
forgot?
of years.
Very good.
Yes, Antoinette was on my downtown kitchen show one time,
Boy, this
and
should
she
be-
made it right on the show.
Betty, this should be good for people The lice cheese just don't have any eggs in it.
Yeah.
Boy.
Let me put some apples here because next to everything, a lot of times at Passover they like apples and they serve it with their day. Does anybody want to add anything else about their Easter? Then we'll talk at once.
I have a cute story about the decorated eggs.
Why don't you tell it?
Okay. In a faraway country, a long, long time ago, there was a huge monster, and he was an evil monster, and he was chained to a cliff. And he would send his servants out into the world all the time, every year, to find out how many of those decorated eggs they made. And in a year where they didn't make very many, his chains would loosen up, and that would cause more evil in the world. And if they didn't make any eggs at all, then evil would take over the world, and the world would end as we know it. If you made a lot of eggs, and that was reported back to the monster, the chains were tightened, and that was the beginning of peace and prosperity and happiness. Yeah.
The conscience came about.
I'm quite sure that when young girls were sat down to make these eggs, they had to have a reason to make them because it's very time consuming.
They're gorgeous eggs. I sort of cheat. I had some hollow ones, but they broke in the process of moving ones. And I do collect eggs, and I have a lot of them from Poland, which are the wooden eggs. Mm-hmm. They just paint it, which is much easier than painting on the things. Well, you want to add anything else? Any other stories?
Tell them I made that.
See this decoration over here?
I made about 30 of them.
My mother made I decorated it. She's not going to get all the credit. I decorated it, but she made these one year. She made them for everybody. I don't think she made them for everyone in the family. She made them for everyone in Phoenixville.
I don't know.
But they all, and she doesn't have one. And
I
that
don't even
happens.
have any.
I've done that. So she likes this a lot. Maybe I think she wants it back.
And now I can't have any because I used to make them in the celery. We're dripping all over the celery and all kind of pans and everything to
Do you
starch.
use starch? Yeah.
Four times.
And she lives in an apartment now, so it's a little harder to do
I
things.
dipped them in the
We had a
starch.
hard time discovering we were going to hang the cheese the other day when we made it there, because it's just not like having a big house. So
Didn't she do cheese on one of your other shows and you hung
Yeah.
it from the cabinet doorknob?
yeah, it was a little harder. Her cabinet was high. Mm-hmm. We would have needed a lot of string. Yeah, we did. We made this once on Downtown Kitchen also around the holidays, and we hung it. We put it in the cabinet, and we put a can in the
We
middle
made
of the
it
string.
right in the television.
Yeah, we made that right on television, and she burned herself pretty bad too. I said I didn't think she'd ever make it again, but she just said she'd make it for this show, so we were okay.
See what moms do.
Oh, I know. They're just
Aren't
great.
they wonderful?
You want to have tell everyone your Easter greeting? You have something you want to say, or Passover greeting, or?
I can't say it in Ukrainian.
Well, say it in English.
Well, what the Ukrainians say is Christ is risen. Indeed, he's risen. And I love Easter because it's the beginning of spring and spring-like clothes and everything. Yeah. It's just a whole new. The gray goes away.
Yeah, the gray does. You have anything you want to say?
In Hungarian,
okay.
Easter is Húsvét, but I can't tell you how to say happy anymore. I forgot the language.
You're forgetting, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do you want to say anything in English?
A happy Easter to everybody.
Okay. So, again, happy Easter, good Passover, a green springtime, and we'll see you soon.